All right. So some of you may have done this practice with me or with others. I know Lucas for sure at a retreat that I led in Gainesville in 2019. I guess that was the year. I don't remember. Yeah, 2019, November 2019. We did this. And I've been thinking about it and talking about it as guided rest. I'll also be teaching this Wednesday on Weekly Dharma Gathering. If you want to try it again, it'll be somewhere soon. But it's a practice that's actually has kind of two, at least, impacts. One is it can actually, so the first thing is that it's a body-based practice, that as all meditation is, but it's really, it's not using the breath, right? So it's much more grounded in our physical and energetic body. And there's also an aspect of visualization and a little bit of mantra. And it can either wake us up, help to perk us up when we're feeling energetically low or emotionally or mentally low, depressed, not clinically, but physically or mentally or emotionally or energetically. Or it can actually bring us calm and ground us, as the name is ground mukta, when we're feeling actually a little, as I like to call, balloon head. You know, we're a little too up in the atmosphere. So it actually can work both ways. And one of the reasons I like this practice is is because it encourages us to rest. It can also be done when if you're having trouble falling asleep, or if you're having trouble waking up in the morning. So it's very nice that way. And it comes from Lungta, Lungta, is a Tibetan word that translates into Windhorse. So what does Windhorse mean? It really has to do with energy. So the horse in a lot of traditional, well, the horse in general, the horse is, as you know, it's a powerful animal, runs, smart animal. One of the reasons that humans were able to advance in our lives, having horse, animals like the horse, the dog, and the bull, mule. But the horse is also regal, helps us travel, and horses are incredibly intelligent about their environment. And they're also communal creatures. And so Windhorse is really a way to talk about the energetic quality that we all possess, and how to kind of raise that, gather that, and infuse our body with that, and then send it out into the world. So this is very common to many, many different cultures and people. Sometimes we talk about it as chi, or sometimes we talk about it just as energy, you know, rousing our energy. And so this comes from Tibetan practices, secular practices in many ways, and I was taught this practice in the context of my lineage, the Shambhala lineage, and coming from a book called Ruling Your World, Ancient Strategies for Modern Life by Sakya Rinpoche, which is about being just a leader in your own life, whether that's like you live alone and it's like you are taking care of your plants and your animals in your house, or how to be a good parent, how to be a good coworker, how to be a good lover, how to be a good partner, how to be a good citizen of the world, how to be a steward of our environment. And these are very ancient teachings that don't belong to anyone, but we sometimes hear them in the ways that impact us. Okay. So first, as we do with these practices, I'll just sort of walk us through. and then we'll try it. So as always, you're invited. You don't have to do anything. If you're like, I don't know what this cuckoo person is doing, you can just listen and see, and then maybe later you can watch the recording and see what you think. So there's no pressure. And I was thinking about this. One of the things about um, the tradition from which I come, but I think this is true about Buddhism, particularly Mahayana, the middle way, and Vajrayana, the tantric path. There's a kind of almost they just shower you with teachings and practices, and in some ways it's really up to you, or I'm going to offer and say it's up to you to find the practices that work for you. So I'm offering this practice really because we're in a season of hibernation, even though in the West, we have all these holidays. So it's Hanukkah, we'll have solstice. The solstice is coming up, and also the Great Conjunction, when Saturn and Jupiter are going to be. Well, Janelle, you work for NASA, but it's, this hasn't happened in something like 300 or 400 years, right? So maybe longer, 600 years? 800 years. Okay, the world was very different, right? But the planets stay the same, right? Basically, mass and then their rotation. So 800 years, oh my goodness. So blink of an eye for the our siblings in the sky. But that Christmas, Kwanzaa, I mean everything, right? We pack it all in, and then we have the Gregorian New Year, and then about a month and 6 weeks later, there's the Lunar New Year. So the solar New Year. So there's a lot going on, right, in this time globally, and so this is a great time to practice rest, even though inside of late capitalism, there's a lot of churning at this time of the year, even inside of COVID, and shockingly, there's so much work going on. So in the winter months, really a lot of practices in Buddhism, as with a lot of earth-based religions, follow the seasons for places that have seasons. And so really this is a season of sowing, resting. And then in the spring, we begin to cultivate and see some fruits. And there's more activity. So this is time to slow down. So this is a practice I wanted to offer to you. We'll do some of this also in the next month's retreat. But over the next few months, this is really the practice we'll be working with. So ground lungta, raise Windhorse. And I just want to, this is a practice that can be done laying down. So if you would like to lay down, I welcome you. If you don't want to do that, you can stay seated, but you can turn your camera off if you don't want people to see you laying down, or you can stay seated. It's up to you. But when are we offered an opportunity to lay down when we meditate, right? So ground lungta, or raise our Windhorse. Lay down, relax. And again, I'll just read and then I'll go right into the practice. Relax, close your eyes or relax your eyes. And focus on 4 areas of the body. First, we'll do the feet, which is related to the tiger, the color orange, exertion and moving forward. Then we'll move to the hara, or the middle body, which is related to lion, white, fire, discipline, delight, opening energy, directing it out towards others as compassion. Then we'll move to the chest and arms, related to the mythical beast, the Garuda, related to the color red, confidence of equanimity, embracing the moment, attracting Drala. Then we move to the head and shoulders, the dragon, blue, prajna, wisdom. We remind ourselves, within my body, I have this incredible confidence, contentment at the feet and legs, joy in the middle, equanimity at the chest and arms, wisdom at our head and shoulders. Focusing again on our 4 areas, the feet, we say the seed syllables ki, related to our absolute confidence, related to our middle body, so, that's our relative confidence, chest and arms, ki, head and shoulders, so. We visualize the orange tiger, white lion, red Garuda, blue dragon. They dissolve into the heart center, which is the sun. We say Ashe La Gyelo, basically saying that we celebrate, may it be so, right? We celebrate our confidence, may it be so. We dedicate the merit, by this merit may all attain omniscience. May it defeat the enemy wrongdoing from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. So that's the Buddhist return of merit. We'll just do that one. If you want to do the second one, that's fine as well. But that's more Shambhala, so I'm just going to leave it Buddhism. Okay, the practice. Lay down, relax, and close your eyes, or relax your eyes. Feel into these 4 areas of your body, your feet and legs, your middle body, your chest and arms, your head and shoulders. Feet and legs. Feel the feet and legs from the top of the feet to the bottom of the feet, heel, sole, toes, all the bones, sinew, ankles, your shins, front and back, up to your kneecaps. This part of the body is related to the tiger, the orange tiger that lives in the jungle. And this orange is like the deep, almost red orange that's of a locally grown fruit, mango or an orange, tangerine. And this tiger's quality is that it is confident. It is not boastful. It does not announce its presence with a roar. It walks across the jungle floor silently. You might call that meekness or contentment. It knows its place and it knows its power. And of course, as it walks, it is also exerting its muscles and its body and its bones, even as it walks quietly. It is walking powerfully and always moving forward. So the quality of our feet and legs, like their orientation for most people, is forward. Moving to the hara, or the middle body, which goes from the tops of the knees to our belly. Of course, not forgetting the back of the body, our thighs, the backs of our knees, the side of our body, the long iliotibial band that goes from the knees all the way through the legs to the gluteus maximus, buttocks, our sex organs, our belly, our hips, our guts. This is a very powerful and busy part of our body. This is related to the lion, but not the golden lion who lives in the savannah, but the snow lion that lives atop the mountains. And this snow lion is white and is perky and is filled with delight, white like fire, energy, discipline. And the energy is related towards others. It's a compassionate energy. It's not a dominant energy. And compassion here is not just, is not pity, or is not even empathy, and is not caretaking. Compassion is holding the hands of others, willing to walk through their suffering with them in order to relieve it. So compassion is some serious shit. Co-experience compassion. So this part of our body has so many parts of it that can help us do that. Process so many parts of the body that process toxins and biles, so that we don't let it build up in our body. And that this compassion comes from a place of delight. It comes from a place of practice. And it comes from the energetic fire that is within us. Moving up our body to the chest and arms, so the top belly, the chest, including the back, ribs, the spine, the bottom part of the heart center, the top of the heart, the top of the lungs. The collarbone, stopping before we get to the shoulders, the hands, the fingers, the wrists, elbows, biceps, and just to the triceps before we get to the shoulder girdle. This part of the body is related to the Garuda, a mythical animal that is has the wingspan, the great wingspan, like a phoenix, sort of a face or a visage of an eagle, somewhere located the hands of a human, and it's huge, red, beautiful. And the Garuda lives in space. So it flies without ever having to land, because it is related to the confidence that comes with equanimity. Equanimity here means no preference for left or right, sweet or sour, day or night, summer or winter. Being able to be fully immersed in whatever experience you have without trying to escape it or elongate it. So equanimity doesn't mean not caring or indifference. It means actually the opposite. It means radical presence in what's happening. Embracing the moment. And when we are able to do that, we attract Drala, or we attract ancestors' help, or we attract the help of gods, or we attract the beings or energies that help us to accomplish what we need to accomplish, however that makes sense to you. But being in equipoise, being present in the moment, helps us to attract and build the skills we need to be in this life, which is sometimes very, very difficult, other times quite mundane, other times blissful beyond words. Moving to the head and the shoulders, the tops of our shoulders, our neck, our back, tops of our back, our throat, all of those sense organs, almost all of them are on this bowling ball on top of our neck, our ears, our mouth, our nose, our eyes. Don't forget the back of your head, the top of your head, the back of your ears. This part of the body is related to the dragon, a blue-black dragon, like the color of space, the color of the depths of the deepest ocean. And the dragon is related to prajna, wisdom, the wisdom that is not about knowing or know-how or knowledge, but it's the deep wisdom of seeing, our deepest wisdom. And the dragon lives nowhere, but appears everywhere and anywhere it's needed. And unlike in the West, where the dragon is a beast to be slayed, is sometimes depicted as greedy, hoarding treasure, or burning everything down. The dragon here is the keeper of deep knowledge, deep teachings, and is willing to share for those who are willing to share. So the dragon appears when we need the dragon to appear. And we can actually cultivate this quality of our prajna, of our deep insight, of our deepest awareness, awareness itself as our refuge. Within my body, I have this incredible confidence, contentment of my feet and legs, joy at my middle body, equanimity of my chest and arms, and wisdom my head and shoulders. Within my body, I have this incredible confidence, contentment at my feet and legs, joy in my middle body, equanimity in my chest and arms, wisdom at my head and shoulders. Within my body, I have this incredible confidence, contentment, joy, equanimity, wisdom. At my feet, I say ki ki. Again, ki is a seed syllable related to my absolute wisdom. My middle body, so. So is the seed syllable related to my relative wisdom. Chest and arms, ki. Head and shoulders, so. Feet and legs, ki. Abdomen, so. chest and arms, ki ki, head and shoulders, so so, feet and legs, ki ki, middle body, so so, chest and arms, ki ki, head and shoulders, so so. I can visualize the orange tiger at my feet and legs, the white lion in my middle body, the red Garuda in my chest and arms, and the blue dragon in my head and shoulders. They dissolve into the heart center. And at my heart center is the great eastern sun, which is basically saying my brilliance, my knowledge, my strength, my kindness, my wakefulness, my wakeful heart can be represented as a brilliant sun. Making sure after the dignities have dissolved into the heart center, the sun can also dissolve into light, into space, going out into the rest of the world, touching others. Here, we can celebrate and proclaim our confidence, our victoriousness. Victory over what? Over war. So let's say victory over ignorance, passion, ignorance, and aggression. Victory over the poisons that cause so much suffering in the world. Kiki, so so, ashe, la, yellow. Kiki, so so, ashe, la, yellow. Kiki, so so, ashe, la, yellow. By this merit, may all attain omniscience, may it defeat the enemy wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. And whenever you're ready, you can just come back into your body, come back into the room where you are. Feeling your feet and legs, your chest, your middle body, your chest and arms, your head and shoulders. And you may stay where you are, or you may return to another position if you're sleeping or in between sleep. that is fine. Because we're learning how to rest and bring our practice to every part of our life. So I put some images in the chat. One is the four dignities as they're, some of you who are familiar with Shambhala, you see those, and then the four dignities are a Tibetan, well, they're not just Tibetan, but the Tibetans kind of put them together. They're also in Chinese Zen Buddhism. They talk about these dignities. And then the second one is just a different interpretation. And then there's this little slight thing that comes from the great teacher, 19th century Tibetan teacher, Mipham Rinpoche. And here, another very interesting figure, Silgo Rinpoche, who did some dirt, but he talks about Mipham Rinpoche's instructions for raising Lungta. They say through the outbursts, this is from 2003, of Kiki Soso La Gyalo. So a lot of times, if you're in the Himalayan region, people will say this, like if they climb a mountain or if they are celebrating something, or it's a way of like kind of achieving. It's like a Breakfast Club fist in the air of achieving, talking about victory. So I'll just read on a sunny summer morning in South France, faithful to a L'Arab Ling tradition to offer an elaborate, I think this was a song, when the weather is clear on top of the hill that overlooks the Pyrenees 300 kilometers south, Sogyal Rinpoche and the Rigpa Sangha were joined by Choklin Rinpoche, Orgyen Tobgyal, and their monks. They offered song following the Choklin song, I see now. Celebrate song, offering song celebrating the Choklin Sangyan practice and the Ribo Sancho. When it came to the latter, Sogyal Rinpoche asked Orgyen Tobgyal to say a few words about what to do when shouting Kiki Soso La Gyalo, as is traditionally done on such occasions. You'll have to say Kiki Soso La Gyalo loudly, and there's a footnote that you can see the translation. Sogyal Rinpoche's translations, may all the good forces be victorious. At that time, according to Mipham Rinpoche's pith instruction, let your eyes gaze into the sky, put your awareness into your eyes one pointedly, stare straight into the middle of the sky, piercingly into the sky, then bring your gaze higher and higher while merging your mind indivisibly with the sky. You have to really concentrate on that and not let ordinary conceptual thoughts stain the mind. Consider that your lungta rises limitlessly. If you do that, there is no doubt your lungta will arise. Okay, you don't have to do all that. But in terms of how to raise your lungta, but basically, when you say Kiki Soso Ashe La Gyalo, you can just relax into space, relax into the space you are, relax into your body, and just let your eyes relax. And really, it's letting the words, the reverberation, and the feeling uplift you. So this practice of ground lungta can be done really quickly, or as long as you can take as long as you like with it. It's really up to you. It can be done something to quickly raise your Windhorse, or you can do it as a longer practice, as a kind of a contemplation as well. So there's no time limit. Sometimes you can just feel into how you want to do that. I've started teaching it more in the last year and a half or so, 2 years, as guided rest, because I feel that we need that to learn how to rest, as the nap ministry talks about, where they really talk about the ways that learning how to rest, not just sleep, but rest, has really been eradicated by the speed of our world, by the forces of capitalism that force many people to work so many hours in order to sometimes not even eke out a living. Or in other places, rest is associated with laziness. And the ways that certain kinds of religions have dominated and colonized the world, so that rest is considered antithetical to being a human being. So rather than this just being a practice about rousing energy or relaxing, I really want it to be one that encourages us to experience deep rest with ourselves and with others. So I think that's all I have to say about that for now. If anyone has any questions about the text, or concerns, or you need more instructions, or you want to share your experience, anything, please just unmute yourself.
I don't think I realized how exhausted I am. I feel like I have to cram every minute of every day, and I sleep great, but I am not rested. I appreciate the distinction.
You're not alone. A Buddhist point of view, there are many ways that, and your makeup, right? But in the Buddhist point of view, we categorize our inability to rest inside of aggression. Isn't that interesting, right? Because aggression is related to speed and continuous action, no space, right? Go, 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 go. No space, no space, no space. So when karma energy, so karma is action, right? But some of us have a lot of karma energy, so we're feel compelled to do. And when there's space, and there's other ways to talk about this, right? Trauma informs a lot of doing for a lot of people. But when we don't leave space, we create a situation where we feel there's something wrong with us if we have space. We're missing something. We haven't done something. It also makes it hard to relate and connect to other people if we're always doing. So if our relationship to others is that we can only do for them, then we miss the possibility of letting people do for us. And we also sometimes do when people aren't asking us to do. So it's kind of unsolicited. And sometimes our relationships can become transactional rather than relational, because we're afraid that if we're not achieving or doing or making things happen, then what's our worth? So it's aggression very broadly. It's not just aggression like punching someone in the face, but it's like tackling life, attacking life. And so that whatever those feelings that come up when we have space, that's where our practice is. You know, that discomfort, that tremulous feeling, those whatever those voices that speak to us in our own voice very convincingly, whatever that is, that's all of our neurosis is actually the neurosis is like the sentinel to the hallway of the doorway of wisdom. So wherever there's neurosis is blocking or pointing to our wisdom, right? They're just two sides of the same coin. So when I am experiencing my neurosis, I'm like, I can get curious about that rather than try to, there's my bad quality. No, that quality is actually pointing to some wisdom, but I've got to make friends with that neurotic quality. I've got to befriend every single aspect of myself because it's all wisdom trying to arise. Right? And sometimes that wisdom is very apparent, and sometimes it's buried at the root, let's say. You know, sometimes it's, you know, we can see the fruit. Oh, I get it. And sometimes it's we've got to trim it back. So nothing is to be discarded. Right? It's all to be welcomed as in the sense that it's an invitation to learn and get to the root in order to experience what's the wisdom that's trying to emerge here. And it makes it even more difficult when many of us live in places, or even if we don't live in places, there's pressure from external forces to do in order to be valued. We literally have a system where you go and do tasks and then they give you paper or coins or whatever and say, this is what this labor is worth. Right? So the people who do the most work, the most essential labor, make the least money. It's inverted in a kind of cruel society.
I found that through this meditation and also through the experience that I'm going through the last 3 days, which is a really persistent headache. I had for 2 days, 3 days, and it doesn't happen very often, but when it happens, it's like means that I'm really reached the limit of stress. And so last night, and even now when I was doing that, I was just being guided by you. It's what you were saying is like the pain that I had, instead of fighting against the pain that I had, it was a door that I just went to, and just instead of just focusing on I just don't want this anymore. What is around? What else is there? And so there was like anxiety. Who's the symptoms of headache? What is it? What fear, anxiety, and then just by feeling that pain is not alone, it's not by itself, but it can open up to support, to space. And it's the same thing when you were saying, when the sun then becomes light, and then there is this opening up, and just thinking about that is really helping me to find the connection. There's always the connection that I'm missing when I'm in that pain, in that feeling. It seems like so narrow space. There's nothing else than that, and just opening up. The Lungpa and the meditation, it really open up the space, and then I realized that I'm not alone, and that's the only thing that I really need. Thank you.
Thank you. That's fucking gorgeous, right? Like, oh, as you were talking, I was thinking about, I was listening, and what it was sort of illuminating in me was the ways that we're trained out of our relationship with our body. And so either we're taught to endure pain to the point of, I was an athlete, right? So it was like literally we'd break bones and they would wrap us up and send us back in. Get over it. No pain, you can do it. It's like, yeah, I can. And it's like when you're young and you have adrenaline and your bones are, relatively supple, but it's such a weird, or you're gaslit and you're taught it's not real, or it's no big deal, or I have pain too, or whatever it is, like the ways that we're unable, the ways that for generations. And so for some people, particularly people who are categorized as white, you've been really taught that embodiment is a problem, to different degrees, depending on where people are from in the world. I find that certain Eastern European and Southern European don't have that same relationship, but Northern, Western European, certainly white people from the US, Canada, different places, it's like everything is the mind, the brain, really, not even the mind. It's like the front part of the brain, not even, certainly not the back of the brain, right? We want to leave that lizard part. And then for other people, for more melanated folks, the relationship to the body a lot of times has been associated with an incredible amount of pain and trauma. Removing people from land, removing people from their families, corporal punishment for almost every level. That's on top of our individual stories, but I'm just talking kind of more collectively. So when we do these body-based practices, they can be really activating in hard ways. And our relationship to physical pain, sometimes when I started getting more serious about meditation in my 20s, I would practice, and I would hear this refrain when people would ask questions about physical pain, and the instructor would sometimes say to regard it as thinking. So that's not untrue, right? That because sensation is then interpreted by the right? By the consciousness and by the mind and by the brain. Okay. So painful sensation or whatever. But it also, that's not the full story. And it also was like, there's something, sometimes meditation causes us physical pain, right? It causes us to get either in touch with physical pain, like, oh my goodness, I'm in pain physically. My body is in pain and I've ignored it. Or, we've been sitting for whatever hours and we're in physical pain, right? So the relationship to our physical bodies is very complex, and it's not just we don't want to get to the place where we skip ahead and everything is just phenomena appearing. That's lovely, but that's not our experience in the world. We have to have a balance between we don't live in the absolute. We piss, we shit, we eat, we put on clothes. We don't float around as energy. Even though we are that, we do things, right? We do things with our body. And so what you're saying is so important, that when I'm in pain, this is particularly true for me when I'm not feeling well, because I'm a baby, particularly nausea. Oh my God, the worst, right? But sometimes I'm like, what is this feeling? And so there's the feeling, and it's like I feel there's whatever is the inner ear, and I feel and then but then there's all this fear that's being dragged along that has nothing to do with the physical sensation, but I'm afraid of what the nausea is indicating. I just want to feel better. So I make my experience of that even worse by resisting. It's like when they tell you when you fall, just fall into the fall, and it's so counterintuitive. You're like, no, I want to brace, but that's why a lot of times when people are like drunk and they fall, they're fine because they're just, clueless and boneless. But when we tense up, and this is very hard because no one taught us this when we were kids. I mean, for most of us, when I didn't feel well as a kid, my mom would say, she'd just be annoyed. Ugh, I don't feel well either. And it's like, okay, well, I don't know what to tell you, lady. And that wasn't because she was a bad person. It was because whatever stores she had were exhausted by another thing, right? In this case, a child not feeling well. And so then my little, brain takes that and says, to feel unwell is a burden. So you always have to be fine. And then we that's also okay, but I didn't drop that. So at some point, that became something that made it really difficult for me to be in my experience, because I'm in another time, in another place, right? And so as adults, most of us come to meditation as adults, or at least at a point in our lives where a lot of our ideas are formed very strongly, and we're trying to have an experience where we're trying to unlearn a lot. And it's really hard. And many times it's the only space, and sometimes it's not even the only space, because it's not always a space that cultivates care, but it's the only space that we're being told to cultivate care. And then, everywhere else, it's how it is, right? So individually, we need to be able to cultivate that, what is inside of us, to bring it out, right? To bring it out of hiding and into our lives. So that instead of, when we notice our whatever, instead of it being like, oh, I did it again, it's like, oh, right. This is just a habit. This is a habit. And so grateful I'm learning to undo this habit slowly through practice. So we're not, I don't think of practice anymore as trying to be blissed out or even become enlightened. Because I will tell you that just the process of learning how to undo some of these long habits or karmic seeds creates enlightenment. Just, I don't know if I'll ever get to this boomy or that level or become this over here and floating and doing all the things. I don't know. I don't know about that. But I do know that the transformation that's happened for me and to me through less the anxiety, the neurosis going from 1,000 to 500 has changed my life. That's enlightenment. Because the things that blocked me are, it's instead of being 15 feet above my head, they're at maybe chest level. That's enlightenment. Obscurations begin to float, melt away. It's not that I'm becoming human. I'm creating space for my human experience. That's it. That's the whole thing. That's wakefulness. So, we're living through an incredibly, sometimes I'm like, why do I even read anything? I should just go, I should just never read, because we're living through an incredible, just craziness everywhere, crazy, every level of unalignment, right? I was watching this TikToker, was doing an interview, was interviewing the representatives of Earth to see if they could be allowed into the intergalactic alliance. And they were like, where's this dodo bird? And they're like, extinct? Why? So everyone has food, right? No. Oh, why? And it's like, logistics. Oh, it just like go, and they're like, they can't get in, And so just this comedy of going through the kind of making plain the ridiculousness of some of the ways that the world is, the hoarding, that we have now trillionaires, which is, as this scientist said, people don't understand intuitively the difference between a million and a billion. A million seconds is 11 days. A billion is 31 years. A trillion, I don't even know what that's probably 300 years. You know what I mean? Like so we're trying to cultivate sanity in our lives when everything else is insane. How we live now, water, trading water as the future. Great. Now it's like, okay, water, gold. I mean, everything in the earth is tradable, right? A government in the U.S. really that's been like, let them die, right? People who've signed up and said, yeah, sure, let us die. And now the West is gobbling up all the vaccines. So 9 out of 10, poorer countries cannot. I mean, it's just, why, Because we are seeing the result of these extremes. This is what happens when we don't cultivate humanity. Animals go extinct. We chop down our own homes. We take more than we need and then claim that we don't have enough. We have no empathy for other beings. We're disconnected from our home. And so these practices and the communities that we build up around practice are so valuable because they build on our inherent qualities. We don't have to even worry about changing the world. We can worry about discovering and embodying who we are. That will change the world. Because we will influence and change those around us by how we behave. When I say I am going to be committed to, radically committed to health, wellness, whatever that looks like for me, right? Care, community, connection. That's powerful. That's powerful. That's powerful. So no, it doesn't appear the same way as like, where none of us are on TV talking heads. We don't have 100 million people watching us and being like, oh, circle eyes or whatever. But we have power that we can cultivate, and we can help others to heal. Our families, our friends, those around us, the beings that we're responsible for. So, like, I'm responsible for you all. I'm accountable to you all. So what do I do in my life to make sure I'm not, harming you and hurting you with neurosis and with unchecked patterns? It's a lot of work. The more responsible I am for people, the more work I have to do. It's not how it is, right? Where it should be that when I'm asked to be in a position of power, that means I'm the most accountable. So that's how I approach Dharma, my life and teaching. That's how I approach being in the world. So we have a few minutes, about 15 minutes. If you have any other questions or when to do this practice, whenever you want. It can be done in addition to a sitting practice. It can be done in place of. This can be your meditation any time of the day. It could be 2 minutes. It could be 2 hours. You'll probably fall asleep for 2 hours, but that's fine. So any time that it feels useful.
I'll go ahead and go if there's nobody who has
Sure.
anything burning. Cool. Okay. So I love this practice because it always kicks my ass every time. I can't remember who had said that just because I get good sleep doesn't mean I'm resting. And that's okay. And that really resonated with me, and this made me kind of realize how much I've been fighting my own rest and my own like embodiment. And I think what you had said too about like meditation can be painful. I find that oftentimes it is because I'm leaning into it, but then there's that wanting to avoid it because there's, it's like, okay, well, there's going to be pain coming. And I already experienced that with like chronic illness stuff. So I don't want to do that. And I'm noticing that pattern more and more of like, especially when I do this practice of like, oh, I'm avoiding. Okay, that's what's going on. And so it was really nice to just rest and even just kind of listen before I spoke. I was just like, I'm just going to lay here on my couch and just listen. And that was just really, really healing. And so, yeah, you don't realize how much you need the rest until you're actually doing it. So thank you for this practice. It's the bomb. It's the bomb in a good and a kick my ass way, but I love it. Love it.
Thank you, Lucas. Good. I'm glad it feels beneficial. We're also just a reminder that we're in a pandemic and there's a lot going on. And even if it doesn't feel like it sometimes, I was just commenting that early this week that almost every, well, at least every week, and it feels like almost every day, someone I know is telling me someone they know has died. So I've known 5 people who died this year. I had a friend who her father died a few weeks ago, or 6 weeks ago. She goes to take care of that while she's there. Her aunt and uncle die with it. I mean, it's just like, it's just been like relentless every week. You know, someone I know has. So just the level of grief that we're holding, I think, and not being allowed to have space for. So that's death. And then there's all the other kinds of grief of being apart from family and friends, and people out of work, or people struggling, people being out of homes, the food lines, you know, now the people being out of food, and mental health. So, you know, it makes sense that we're activated. You know, our systems, our sympathetic nervous systems, and yeah. So I just want to say a little bit about, so I just want to let you all know I'm going to take a well-needed break. So I'm not going to, I think next Friday is the last day I'm seeing students for a little while, maybe a couple weeks. I don't remember exactly. I have to look at my January. And then I'm going into retreat for like just 5 days on the 19th. Solitary retreat, a home retreat, because I need it. It's gonna kick my ass, but it's good. And then next, some teaching a couple times, the BIPOC teaching tomorrow from 12 to 2 Eastern time, and then Wednesday teaching on weekly Dharma gatherings, 7 p.m. Eastern time, same practice, guided rest. And then the retreat next month, so it's Friday, I think it's the 14th, whatever that Friday is. Look at my calendar. And you can also email Daisha for any details. Sorry, the 15th. Friday the 15th of January is 7 to 10 Eastern time. And that's going to be open. That's open to all my private students and then the public. And then Saturday is just for like the 11 or 12 private students I have. And that's from 11 Eastern time, 8 Pacific to 4 Eastern. And we'll be doing a few things. This practice will be part of it, but some sitting, but it'll also be around orienting to the new year. So there'll be some writing, and there'll be some practices around how to really strengthen ourselves. And, you know, resets are always great, because it's like, okay, it's Monday, or okay, it's the weekend, or okay, it's the first, or okay, it's whatever, my birthday. And so it's good to, these rituals are actually important. And also just spend some time in practice together. So we'll have some breakout groups, and, you know, some good sitting time. You know, so there'll be some straight shamatha. We'll make sure and take, you know, good enough breaks, and you're free to come for all or part of the retreat. And so Daisha will be there to support me in terms of the technical stuff, so I don't have to like be doing that. And we will just be together virtually, which will be really lovely. So I'll post this recording in the Slack group. And I'll also have Daisha send it out for people who aren't on the Slack. I'm trying to make sure everyone's in the Slack. Is everyone here on the Slack group? Great, okay. So that's it, I think. Unless anyone else, and I'll also post these images and the link. So, thank you so much for showing up. May you be safe, sane, healthy. May your families and friends be safe, sane, and healthy. And you know, may you continue to blossom and grow and deepen in your practice, so that we may you know, really transform ourselves in the world from inside out. So thank you all for showing up. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much for this.
Your shower tonight. Thank you. Ooh.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Really
you.
beautiful.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
Thank
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.